What's up, guys? So here's the guitar. Got it all nice and sanded down, as you can see there. It looks really good. Sanded down our grain filler to 400 grit. Wasn't really that hard. Went ahead and cleaned up all the binding. You can see there that binding's nice and white. Took a razor blade. Razor blades will be your best friend in these projects here. I got a little package of them, and I just, as you can see, the binding's really nice and white. I just went along and just took 2 or 3 hours and just cleaned all the binding everywhere. Really got it down good to make sure it's white. Like I said, it's going to be your last chance before you actually go ahead and put your first coat of sealer on there. Like I said, I just got a real natural rosewood color because that's what I wanted. I wanted a real natural color on the back. I didn't really want it tinted. If you wanted to, you could always do like a reddish color, or you could always go ahead and stain it. So you can mix stain in with that wood filler if you want. You can get clear wood filler and mix your stain in. You can mix the stain with whatever tint wood color that you bought. You can stain the back of it afterwards with stain separate after you do the wood filling. Just whatever you want to do, you can pretty much do it there. So just take your razor blade and go over the whole guitar, and just do your final. Like I said, I take a whole day, a whole dedicated day just to prepping this thing, just to doing the binding, sanding it down, doing all the binding, doing all the little things first, making sure the finish is good. Another thing I did too is I wet sanded this finish. I went ahead and just wet sanded it with 1500 grit because it's already got a sealer on it on the top of it. So I just wet sanded it with 1500 grit just to get, there was a little bit of stuff from the filler that got in here and didn't stick, but I just wanted to smooth it out nice and just take away any imperfections. There's a couple dust bunnies in it and stuff like that, so did all that with 1500 grit. Got the binding nice and white, fixed all the seams here on both sides. So yeah, once you get to this point, she's ready for sealer, and the sealer that I'm using is Bellhand. Get it focused there. Bellhand vinyl sealer, and it goes paired with my Bellhand nitro lacquer that I got from StuMac. I'm just gonna go ahead, and I got a little hook here. I'm gonna hook it up here, and I'll be shooting it with the sealer. Alright, without further ado, cross your fingers because there's no going back. Well, there it is so far, guys. Got the first coat on. You can see there. She looks really good. I'm just twirling it by the hook up here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let this tack up after about, I'm gonna let it sit for about 15-20 minutes, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put a second coat on it. And after that, I'll probably do another coat, and I'm just going to basically empty the rest of this can. It's not a whole ton left, probably about 2 more good coats worth, or 2 more, decent coats. But yeah, and I'll come back once it's all sealed. Alright guys, so we went ahead and got the sealer on there. I let it cure for about 2 weeks, and I've just been wet sanding a little bit. But the sealer's on there, let it cure for about 2 weeks, so it's definitely cured, nice and hard. And what it calls for is 320 to 360 grit sandpaper, but I didn't want to go that coarse, so I just went ahead with 400. So once you do that, you can do this on a block. I'm not really that worried about it. I'm not really super concerned with it being dead on, you know, completely flat. You know, it's a guitar. It's not gotta be perfect. Alright guys, so we just went ahead and finished up the wet sanding here on the body. It's all got this cloudy look to it now, but it looks good. It's all flat, it's all smooth. I went with a block on it. A hard block on the back, and then on the softer parts where it has the contours I went with like a rubber block, and then just my hand and some of the other areas. It's not that big a deal. It's not got to be, you know, laser straight. So what I'm going to be doing here is I am going to be actually spraying this out of an HVLP gun. So something like this. This is just something you can get for like $30 at your local hardware store. They're just like these cheap we have nicer ones here, but I just bought this one for as kind of a throwaway. It was like $30. I got it at Harbor Freight, which is basically like a Chinese you know, tool store where I live. So yeah, we're gonna be using that. We just cleaned it out with some lacquer thinner. I got some automotive lacquer thinner here, and it's a medium temperature, so it's medium drying, which means it's got a medium viscosity. We also have our bell hand string instrument lacquer here in a quart. I'll show you guys that. That's what I'm going to be using to actually finish the guitar, and this will be the clear coat. So the way that the instructions work on this is that I went online, I read the instructions on it, and it's pretty simple. It basically says just to apply one good coat. It says to let it dry after an hour, and then it says to reapply, it says to re-wet sand with 400 grit. It says to do that about 4 more times to make a total of 5 coats with wet sanding in between. It actually says 320 to 360. I'm gonna do 400. I'm gonna see how I like it though. I might not wet sand to the very end. And basically it says after you do that many coats, and you sand in between, so do take into account if you're going to be sanding, it's still calling for about 5-6 coats. It's calling for that only if you're sanding in between. If you're not going to be sanding in between and you just kind of want to build it up, you might be looking more like 3, maybe 4. You want to be pretty careful with it. Alright, what's up dude? So I just went ahead and got I'm just gonna show you guys how to clean this gun out. If you're curious, why not shoot it, right? So I just strained my clear. I suggest when you do this, you go to the I don't know if they have these at Walmart or not, but I know they have them at like AutoZone, stuff like that. They have them at automotive paint shops. That's where I got a lot of my stuff from. And yeah, you just want to go ahead, because you know these guns, you use them over and over. Sometimes there's debris inside there, sometimes there's old material from something else. So what you want to do is you want to take your thinner and put it inside your canister. Put your thinner in there, you know, fill it up halfway, whatever. Go ahead and pop your lid on this thing, put your air on it, spray it out, clean it out. You can backflow it, you can put a rag right up to it and push it while it's on its side. That backflows the thinner back into the gun and just really cleans out the nozzle really good. I went ahead and switched to this gun because the other gun had some gunk and stuff in it. It was kind of too dirty. I didn't feel like using it. My dad used it for something else, and it's just got some black soot on it. But this one has removable nozzle on it, which is pretty cool. So I always put this in my clear inside the thing. I'll set it right inside here, put the lid back on it, and I'll shake it around really good, take it back out, screw it back on, and that's perfect. Just make sure your nozzles here are straight. And then like I said, there's a little bit of debris in there, there's a little bit of stuff in there. I'm just gonna do it again because I just did this. So what I'm gonna do is I got about, I don't know, half left. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it back through here. Let it strain out. You want to strain it. You don't want no. I had a couple, like I said, I had a couple black spots, a couple prime spots in there from old material that was left in the gun and wasn't cleaned out properly. So this helps a lot. So get a few of these and you can strain it every once in a while. No harm, no foul. If you get anything in it or you put it in the wrong container or something. All right. Another thing too with this type of gun, you kind of gotta have a decent amount of clear in there. because the nozzle only goes down so far. It's not a gravity feed like the new HVLPs are. Those are pretty sweet. We have one, I'm just not using it. That's like the really, really nice one we have. This is a little bit older style. It's still fine, but it sucks it up, the pressure. The gravity feeds actually have the tank on top where you go this way. So that's pretty much it though. We got our clear in there. Like I said, it's not reduced in any way. It doesn't call for it to be reduced. The last coat we can mix it 1-to-1, so 50% clear to 50% lacquer thinner. That's completely up to you. It does say you can do that if you want for a nice thin coat at the end without having to wet sand it. You can pretty much just wax it and wipe it in. So yeah, that's it. With this particular gun, probably going for about, I figured that's what would happen. We're not going for that much pressure with this thing. Only about 40 pounds, 45 pounds. And yeah, I think that's about all I had to say. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this thing with our 4th coat, and we should be looking pretty good. I'll see how it looks after that. We might go ahead and hit it with the 1-to-1 if we have enough clear left. I used quite a bit of it, laid on pretty heavy, so alright, I'm gonna go to it. What's going on, guys? Just wanted to show you this really quick. Yeah, look at this thing. This just got done. This hasn't sat overnight yet. This is still the same day, but it's dry enough to the touch where I can at least set it down. And I wanted to just kind of set it down in the light and show you guys a little bit of what it looks like. That is awesome. That stuff is the greatest clear I've ever used. It goes down so nice. It dries so quickly, and it's not even a very hot lacquer. It doesn't even smell very activated. But you can see the back how shiny it is. I got it all around the sides. Again, this stuff was what, $30 for the whole thing. I still got about half left. So just kind of showing you. Yeah, it looks great. It's funny, it just started raining too. I'll show you guys the headstock. Here's the headstock. Headstock looks great. I like it a whole lot. Yeah, that's still pretty. The neck is kind of wet, so I let that part sit off the edge here. Should have piece of styrofoam, but yeah. I just thought it would be cool to show you guys. It looks so sweet, it's so shiny. I don't even know why I would even wet sand that. I mean, man, it looks beautiful right now. And it feels really soft too, it feels really good. So, yeah, anyways, I'm gonna let that sit overnight, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, so this is it right here. She's all done, so after about 3 days of drying, got a nice, good, shiny, thick coat on there. Here's the back. Yeah, it's great, man. This stuff feels really, really, really nice. A couple spots we got to fix and kind of maybe wet sand, but honestly, I don't think I'm gonna do anything to the back. I actually really like the back. It has pretty much the consistency I want. I think what I'm basically gonna do is I am gonna buff the back and the sides, but I'm not gonna wet sand them. I'm just going to wet sand the top and buff the top, and wet sand the top of the headstock. Here's the headstock. I'll show you guys that. Looks fantastic. Yeah, looks really good. So what I got here is just a, this is kind of up to your own thing, depending on what you want to do. You can go to 800, you can use 1,000 grit, you can use 15, you can use 2. It all kind of depends on what kind of surface you're starting with. For me, I kind of use my own discretion on this. I think I'm going to go ahead with 1,500 grit, and we just put a little 1,500 in some water here, and lightly just start going at it. Now what I'm doing here is I am trying to take off any little dust bunnies that got in the clear. I'm trying to take down on the orange peel a little bit, cutting down on some of the orange peel, and it just kind of get it to that glassy consistency. And then once we're done with that, we're gonna heat the clear up a little bit. Not crazy. We got a super soft buffing pad here. I got this from Harbor Freight, and that'll actually kind of smoothen out the spots that this doesn't get. So we'll go from 1,500, and I'm just gonna do it by hand. I'm not doing nothing crazy. I don't want to do anything crazy. Just taking out some of the orange peel, leveling out a little bit. Once I'm done with this, I'll go to the 2,000 and keep it wet. I'm not concerned about it being wet. I don't care. It's gonna be fine. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and I got the 2,000 grit here, and I'm just going to do the same thing. This is a super light grit. It's hardly going to do very much, but being what it is, it's nitrocellulose lacquer, so it's pretty thin as it is, so you don't want to go too crazy on this stuff. If you go too crazy, you can go through it real quick. So I am not doing a whole lot to this. I don't have a super thick coat on it either, so you don't want to go too crazy. It's been about 3 days. I believe it recommends after about 48 to 72 hours you can start wet sanding this, or rubbing it out is what they say. So this is kind of maybe even a little overkill for this finish. Back in the day, I know Gibson never used to actually do all this. I believe they just shot their guitars as they were with the nitro clear. But this will just help it be just a little bit shinier, all the more. Just gonna do this a little bit, and then after this, we'll go ahead and do the buffer. All right, guys. So we just went ahead and got it finished with the 2,000 grit. The next thing that we're going to do here is I got this Meguiar's Ultimate compound I got from Walmart, actually, in the automotive section. But this is going to work just fine. I usually have compound in the garage, I just don't. There's compound, there's also a polished version of this, which is basically just their swirl remover version. In compounds, there's almost always two. There's usually a general compound that takes away your final sanding stuff, and then there's a polishing one that basically, polishes, takes away any swirls. It's a super fine compound. Today we're just using normal compound, basically, automotive compound. Another thing too, this stuff says that you can rub the finish out by hand if you want to. So we could also rub this out by hand without using all this. But this is super low impact. It's barely even going to do anything. It's basically just going to shine this thing up, hopefully. Another thing with these finishes too, going from 15 to 2,000 on the top here, a lot of the guys back in the old days, like I said, they wouldn't even do that. They would spray the things on there. They'd have probably a 1-to-1 ratio for the final couple coats, and they would look really good. It'd be very minimal orange peel, super glossy, and they could ship them right out. They wouldn't have to worry about wet sand and buffing them. So what we're doing here is pretty overkill, really, for this application. You don't even really need to do this. I've seen the guys do the true oil finishes that look horrible. Well, they don't look bad, but they don't look good. So even just shooting this as it is and putting the hardware on it looks 10 times better than a true oil finish. I've seen a nice true oil finish on these things, and they don't look that good because they don't really belong on a guitar. Guitars should at least have some sort of unity in it, and they're kind of bumpy and they're kind of and they're more for furniture, really. So what we're doing here is plenty overkill for this, for what I see a lot of guys do on these kit guitars. So I just put a little bit of Ultimate Compound on here. I'm going to use my super soft plush buffing pad I got this for like $2 at, I think, Harbor Freight. I put it on my 12-volt gun, which is almost done to juice, so it's going to be really, really light. Just put a little compound. I just kind of swirled it with my thing here without turning it on, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, so just went ahead and got done buffing it. Looks great, looks fantastic. Actually, it's starting to really shine up good. Again, I don't want this to be show car quality. I just want it to look at least nice and shiny and glossy and not muddy, and it absolutely does. That looks fantastic. So the only last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this is Mother's Carnauba car wax, and this stuff works fantastic. Comes in a little tin. I got a little applicator pad here, so what I'm going to do, go ahead and get a good amount of this, and I'm going to use this almost as my final step. I'm going to wax this thing. It's really good. I'm going to get it really wet. I'm going to wax this thing, but when I put it on here, I'm going to rub this in really hard. I'm going to rub this in really vigorously, try to heat the clear up with my hand, and then when it's all done, I'm going to go ahead and do it about 2-3 more times, and then very vigorously wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Just like that. If you run out, go ahead and get some more on your applicator pad. Don't be afraid to get it nice and wet. Don't be afraid to rub it really hard in the corners where your thumb is, or where you can't get that pad. Right up in here was a little bit hard, so I'm going to make sure I rub it up in there really good. I'm going to heat that clear up with my fingers. Part of another good reason doing this only after a couple, 2-3 days, is you're still able to do this. Okay, I went ahead and rubbed that in. I actually used a hand towel instead of my applicator pad because it was just a little bit more coarse, and I think it did a little better job. So now what I'm doing, I'm just taking my microfiber towel I have here and I'm wiping it back off. And this is exactly what I was going for. Exactly what I was going for. You can see there, you got to remember this nitro clear is still fairly uncured, so it can be manipulated by even just rubbing it, pretty vigorously. You can get a decent effect out of it. Even just doing this, rubbing this, heating it up with your hands will make the final product look that much better as well. What's going on? Here it is, all finished and done. Beautiful. Turned out like way better than I thought it was going to be quite honest with you guys. I'm quite shocked. It's glossy and nice and hard, and it's really soft. Did the headstock too, kind of get that in the light. It looks fantastic, like almost spooky good. I'm really surprised I was able to do this with that paint. That clear is so nice. I can't stress it enough. This Bellhen string instrument lacquer I got from Stumac is the bomb. That stuff is awesome. Goes on thick, goes on really nice, dries in like 45 minutes, and in 2 and 3 days you can do this. You can pretty much buff it out and be done with it. Obviously it's not completely cured yet, but that's okay. I mean, you can get it going. It's not a big deal. I did it, and actually it actually helps a little bit because you can heat the lacquer up pretty good. So another thing too is if you guys want to go ahead and hand wipe that compound in, you can always go back and do that. You know, I wet sanded it, I buffed it with a compound, and then if you have a microfiber buffing pad too, to go over it at the end, done. I mean, you can do that. You can do it in 5 minutes instead of rubbing it and rubbing it and rubbing it. That's pretty much what I did on the headstock. I had a microfiber buffing pad after I did just a quick buff, and it was completely shiny and nice. So yeah, I'm impressed, man. I am shocked. It's gonna be really, really cool. I'm getting super excited. So that about does it for part 4. Part 3, we will be, or sorry, part 5, we will be back putting the hardware in it, fitting the tuners on, putting the pickups in, all that type of stuff. And I got something cool to show you guys too with the pickups. I bought a plug and play system that's going to be pretty much no solder required. We can pretty much just plug everything right in, and the pickups are pretty good pickups. They're not cheap garbage. So, and it was fairly cheap for everything too. So I'll show you guys where I got that from. So yeah, please like, share, subscribe, whatever you guys want to do. It really helps me out a lot. Videos are doing really good, and I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in part 5. See ya.